What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We're here with George again. George, are we in line for another reward this game week?
Currently we are. I'm hitting two big tier fives. That's what you want to see right now. So
And it's
that's
just
where I'm hitting right now.
building out the gallery of giveaways, baby. That's what
Well,
we call the tier fives. Dude, good to have you back. For those that missed out on live before lock, George joined us for just straight chaos on Monday as I had rushed from LaGuardia Airport. But today is gonna be a little bit different. I think what we've been talking off air quite a bit, and I've been browsing the general Discord a little bit more recently just to try to see you see the happiest of happiest on Twitter and then sometimes the lowest, but then you really get to know how angry people are in the Discord. So kind of just trying to get a sense of where everybody is. I feel like this would be a good opportunity for us to just kind of like check in on maybe some more tangible things that might be causing frustration instead of just like staring at the marketplace and being like, when cards go up. I don't know. Is that, are you comfortable with the direction that's going?
yeah, Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, marketplace sort of issues right now is kind of well documented within the Sorare scene. I think in general, not just focusing on the NBA. I think
Right.
people on the football side and definitely on the MLB side have always been moaning about it. But that's what people are going to do. People aren't going to go on Twitter and Discord and be like, "I'm so happy all my cards are up in price." Like, that's not what's really going to be. So it's only whenever there's the negative stuff that people will focus on for that thing. But I think there's some other issues where the NBA side of the platform right now is not looking in the best of lights in comparison to the football side.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll pick a couple of things to kind of go into, and I mean some of it we've mentioned before too. And I think ultimately, like we'll say that, like before we get going, and this is to maybe like soften some of the frustration, is that like we obviously still enjoy doing this. Like we make content around it. I mean, we've talked about this. We don't really get paid to make content around it, so like we're doing it because we enjoy the game. The game itself is fun, and I think we had in the words of Panic at the Disco, high hopes that for year two of this. And I don't know. I mean, I think they've definitely delivered some good things, and we'll definitely reference those as well. But I think there's some sticking points that maybe are I don't know, just some like flags going up. And I'll always say this, like I do have PTSD from my Top Shot days. So there's
I
like,
don't have that.
yeah,
I
so
haven't got that.
there's, yeah, my hairline has definitely gone back like a couple inches since those days. So but anyways, all that to say is like we're definitely like pro this, and this is kind of why pro so rare, and it's kind of why we wanted to have this conversation instead of letting our feelings fester. And that's why it's therapy, baby. And we'll obviously like engage with the chat too. So if you guys have thoughts as we go, definitely let us
Yes.
know. Make sure for this stream you got to subscribe in order to drop a line in the chat, and then there in the show notes you can see it. I tagged the Swingman Pod in there, so go check out the Swingman Pod as well, as they are cruising to 1K subs right now. But I guess I don't know. Dealer's choice, George. What should we dive in with first? I know we kind of made a little agenda.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I know you just said that. I don't want to repeat everything as well. Everything that we're about to do in terms of where we talk about this game, ultimately, I still absolutely love Sorare and Sorare NBA. I love the product. I think everyone wants to see it be the best it can. With that said, I think we need to talk about rare rewards. I think that's one of the sticking points. There's a few things that like we're still waiting for in terms of updates, and that's fine. But it's been 2 weeks nearly now since communication of the potential update coming, and since then we've only got list or play, so we can park that. But in terms of rare rewards right now, the update I think has gone ahead live for Game Week 15, the upcoming one. So I don't know if you've checked this out at all, but they've added in the market credits in Rare Champion and in Rare Contender, and I really like the idea of what the credits can do. It's been seen on the football side of the new users coming in for the Bundesliga and the La Liga competitions that credits can have a really big impact on auctions. I don't love the fact that you have to have you have to artificially intervene in the market for it to go up, but that's fine. We can talk about it another one. The issue I've got is that still in Rare Contender, if I come 270th, I get $5. And it's not great for a rare market in the consideration of where prices were and prices are now, and that's another whole ball game for it. But $5. I still don't know if I can use that on football and MLB. I don't know if that stacks. I know. All I know is it lasts for 2 weeks, I believe, and you can use it for 25% off of an auction. So if it costed $20 the card, you'd save that $5 in full. But that's all I know, and that's all anyone knows, I do believe. So there's just little things that are slowly kind of like, what are we doing? That's how I'm seeing it in that sense.
I think it's twofold, right? Because I think there was definitely some pressure being put on by managers, and I think the team, the Sorare NBA team, heard it and wanted to react to it, right? And I think they were just like, this is an idea that could work. Let's make an announcement, let's implement it and go. And which, like, I can appreciate the efficiency in which they tried to turn that around. But and I am someone who is guilty of this in almost every aspect of my life, that when you do that, you typically make dumb mistakes or errors, or you don't like cross all the T's and dot all the I's because you're just trying to rush through a thing. Like, I just went grocery shopping and I forgot to pick up tomatoes for tonight because I was like, oh, I can get this done before 1 p.m. before the show starts. And I just ripped through the grocery store, and then I'm halfway home and I'm like, I didn't pick up tomatoes. So that, and I don't know. Again, I'm not behind the scenes at Solar NBA, so I don't really know what's going on. But that is kind of what it speaks to me a little bit, because if they had thought all of this through, then that would be a part of the announcement, right? They'd be like, oh yeah, you can use it for the football side and the baseball side. Like, all of that stuff
Yeah,
would be it. Honestly, it reminds me of the Cyber Monday deal, where it's like, oh hell yeah, this is a great idea, but then not everything was ironed out. And so now we're going back and forth with questions, and it ends up taking the good thing and making them look a little silly because it doesn't seem like they are on top of like the finer details of it all.
sure. And ultimately as well, like when I'm looking at these rewards in in Red Champion, if you cut, so there's no tier fives in Red Contender. I don't know if that was always there, but there is no tier fives in Red Contender. In Red Champion, there is still tier fives. And ultimately, if you come 56th or 65th between that gap, you can earn a tier five card. However, where prices are, you're almost better finishing 126th because those credits potentially are worth more than the tier 5 card. So your whole reward structure then is out of sync. So I think, and this is the biggest thing that can be seen, and I've been working on trying to do a video because on the whole space of season 2 so far, because like I've said before, I don't want to be reactionary. I wanted to let like the weeks go by and see how the reward structure worked. And I still think in points it works really well. If you win in Rare Champion now, you win a lot. Like, there is a good level that you win by. Same thing with Limited Champion. But there's just the reward structure to get there. You need to have the best of galleries.
Mm-hmm.
And then in doing so, people get fed up, sell off their cards and don't want to do it because then the rewards aren't good enough. It's too hard. And that's where the counterbalance comes. If the rewards are good, people want to play and they'll invest in it. And the rewards right now aren't. And you can see that on the football side of what they've done. I hate comparing the two because I don't want to do that. But what they've done with the Premier League and having these cash prizes each week has seen a massive boost on the market in general. And they require 4 of the new cards and 1 of the old ones. And you see how that's boosted not only the secondary market on the older cards, but massively on the new set. And that's where we haven't seen that. And we saw it a little bit with the IST. But then since that's gone and there's no other mention of a long form competition, everyone's like, well, what do we do now? And that's where it is. That's the issue.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, I think we've talked about this in different ways with the word progression. And I think when, like you said, like I mean, the game in itself is pay to play in a lot of different ways. But one of the things that I liked touting about this game last year is that, yes, if you have a bag, you can go spend it. You still have to be able to effectively fill out your roster, even if you spend a lot of money. But if you don't, there is this contender game where it's a little bit more like mathematically, like you're using projections and all this stuff to like, like really tinker, and you can do it on a budget because it's a lot of the guys that aren't as attractive. And I don't, because it's so hard right now. I'm not saying it shouldn't be hard, but I'm saying I think that is limiting some of the overall, like, the market action. I don't think we're seeing a lot of market movement either. Cause like normally be like, oh wow, Derek Jones Jr. is a great play this week. And it's like, yeah, well, you know what? I put up 210 points last week and I didn't cash. So it's like, why am I going to go spend on Derek Jones? And I think that is, I don't know. I think that like sentiment is bleeding into just everybody. And that slows things down, I think.
I think as well, there is a point to be said if we take a step back that it could be like classic second season syndrome on a basis of that. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, I'm going into season 2, I'm going to smash it this year. And then inevitably, if you don't win, you're like, well, this is rubbish. I don't want to do it anymore. I think there is potentially something on that to look at. But again, I think in the limited sections, I don't think it's too hard. In the rare and especially in the super rare, people are getting sort of like killed out there in terms of it.
Yeah.
And that's your sort of core base. And if that's what you start to get sentiment of that people are fed up, then it's a worrying situation. That's the vibe that I get off. So I don't really look on the Discord. I probably should. I don't really ever do it. I normally just stick to Twitter to get my sort of information on vibes and how people are feeling and people that comment on my videos. But yeah, it's not in the best of spaces. But I remember this as well for season 1 last year. There was like a little dip.
Yeah,
like there was an initial bang, and then there was a little dip, and then it picked back up. So I don't know if we're just looking at this under like a microscope, or if there is like an issue, or I don't know.
And this might be recency bias, but I don't remember. I don't remember like execution being something that was the cause of the dip last year. And this year, it does feel like that is like most of the stuff that I'm hearing is not. It's not because they're not winning rewards. Now, maybe it is, but they're redirecting it so that it doesn't sound like that. But that, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm getting here. I wanted to catch up on the chat here before we keep going.
Sure.
So Jamie in the chat was saying, I'm not sure it works. When everyone got a discount on Cyber Monday, the auction price is doubled. So you were essentially paying the same price you would without the discount. I think that's fair. But that was also a one-off thing. And I think if it became the norm, maybe you see a spike initially, but then it like levels back out with what it's supposed to be. I think my biggest frustration with the coupon, I will call it, instead of a credit, is that it does like you're winning a percentage of your next buy that has to be done in a time frame. And I respect the time frame thing, but I almost think like, you know, if you win a $25 credit, I feel like you should be able to buy a card for $25, or you can apply it to the next thing. But to like focus it on being auction and has like all, I think the more parameters you put around it and something like that, the harder it becomes to. It just feels like you're not really getting anything from them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. The time limit is probably the thing I have the biggest beef with. 2 weeks, because if I don't want to buy anyone in 2 weeks, then I've literally won nothing, essentially, is what we're saying, because that credits I'm never going to use. I'm not mad at it being a certain percentage, that I can be fine with. 2 weeks is really harsh, because like, I have still been buying cards in auctions on the NBA side, because right now this is probably where we differ from your PTSD on Top Shot versus me. I'm like, these prices are just too low, I've got to get involved. And so I've slowly been like chipping away at cards that I've wanted for a while. But if I wasn't in that position right now, that I wanted to go and expand my gallery, what am I meant to then force myself into buying them cards? And then if a card's $40 and I've got 10, I then have to put 30 in. And that's where the time constraint, and maybe that's a smart business ploy, if it then forces people to then be like, hey, I really want to use these credits, let me add in. And so there's different sides to look at it at. But that's where I'm sitting on it. And that's not the only big thing for it. I just think as well, still, ultimately, we're talking about rare rewards being a thing to make someone go out and buy a rare collection. I don't think being paid to $270 on Contender to get $5 in credits is going to make anyone do that.
No, I don't think so. I think that was like a nod to anyone that was already playing it, right? You're like, here, you can open up something else. It was funny because when I had talked with them a little bit about it when they were messing around with that idea, and I was under the assumption that it was more of a coupon, not a credit. And the thing that I told them about doing a marketplace time limit thing, but I went the other way. I was like, you shouldn't be able to sell the thing you buy until you use it for 2 consecutive game weeks or something. Well, even if it's in a training lineup, but just so like, okay, I want a $25 credit. I'm not going to buy something and then immediately sell it to flip it, you know, so that way you're not just tanking the market. That's the direction I thought they were going. But I mean, I guess like I have concerns with how it's been rolled out so far, with like the lack of information around it. But we should let it roll out for a couple weeks before we either celebrate it or hammer it, right? Like we haven't seen it actually happen yet. So maybe it'll be something to check back in on in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, that's like the other thing in terms of we haven't seen the stuff yet. And again, it's not like a beef I've got, but it's currently like, tomorrow is 2 weeks, I think, or today was 2 weeks since the product update. And we still haven't heard, like, what are we doing with collection bonuses?
Right.
What is the schedule for the next long season, like long format competition? Like, we haven't heard. Well, I mean, collection bonuses should be here by now. Like, I don't know why there has been such a delay. We're 15 weeks into the season. How many game weeks were there last year? I think it was like 47, 48 regular ones, maybe. Rare game weeks. So we're like fast approaching halfway.
Yeah.
It'll be there before we know it. And obviously now we're in a state where a lot of people are going to be like off on holidays for the festive season, then come back in, and then you got that lag to catch up. So that's the sort of thing that I'm facing with the NBA side. And it's horrible because I absolutely love this product, but there's been no talk of any of the updates for 2 weeks. And then I look at the football side of things, and there's been 8 or 9 of different, we're doing these cool reward boxes now, and there's this new competition, and we're doing this fix for your competitions. And then the NBA seems to have been kicked to the corner, is what it feels like, because no one's talking about it. Even when you look at Nicholas's tweets, it's just a timeline full of football. There's no mention, and the new MLB cards that look sick. There's no mention of the NBA at the minute.
And I don't know if this is a big deal, right? I'm not saying this is between success and failure, but they've had one tweet in the last week. They had one on December 5th, which is just your retweet. It's your retweet. And then this is, what is your best finish so far this season in the Sorare NBA?
What are the comments on that tweet? Because I'd love to know if people are actually replying with what their best season is, or if
it's been 18 so far. Let's see. Okay, Sierra Miedo did it. Yeah, we had a couple.
Ryan WA is very vocal normally on everything that they do wrong. So.
Yeah. You should take feedbacks into account rather than trying to grow hype. There we go. I would say most of these are actually positive, which is surprising. But my point being is that, man, this was the IST was going on, right? You had a big IST contest. It just felt weird to go dark for the week that it was happening, especially if you're trying to market yourself as this NBA product, and this is a tentpole event that the NBA is overhyping. They're doing everything they can to get people to talk about it, including you giving out $100K in prize pools for this IST thing. It just seems bizarre. I don't know. There just seems to be a lack of connection between the game. And again, that's them tweeting is not saving anything. But when there's a few red flags, you start noticing some other things, right? And so I don't know. I just thought it was weird to be quiet during that time frame.
Yeah, and it's it's the same thing in terms of we've mentioned this, the amount of cool uniques that have gone on, and not even posts about them. The Sorare football side will post every time there is a cool unique, like Saka's one that came up the other day.
Right.
No mention of Luka, literally no mention. So, and again, not that the average Joe on Twitter is going to see that there's a Luka unique and go, yes, I'm going to bid on that now. But it just makes a little bit more noise, lets people know that we're still going, we're doing this thing. But right now, I don't know, I've just got to, and I love the game. The game is so good.
Yeah.
And it's such a weird place right now on the NBA side. But maybe this is I'm a little bit too close to it. And it's
maybe I am too, as I'm about to say something else along those lines. I think the other thing that frustrates me with the Twitter thing, right, is there is, I don't know how much people feel that there is a community of Sorare NBA. I think it's your community and it's my community, and maybe there's other Discords out there as well, some international as well. And but I think when that is the case, you would think that they would be trying to do things. Sorry, I'm the sun is now coming in this other side, so I'm avoiding the light. But you'd think you'd be trying to do things to foster some of this. And and again, a tweet's not going to save that. But like you said, when you have these big things happening, like a Luka unique, you'd think they'd be at least should be hey guys, there's a Luka unique. I don't know. And you know what? Maybe they don't care. Maybe this isn't a priority for them, the community building aspect of it. Maybe they'll just rely on people like us to do it for free. But I don't know. To me, again, it's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I don't have too much else more to say on that thing. It's just, I'm just sad is probably what I'd say at the minute is how it's gone. Because I still love this game and I love making content on it. I'm not planning on stopping anytime soon. But it's that I just wish that was reciprocated in terms of how I can see on the optics on the other side of things.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, that's enough on rare rewards. You had mentioned in our chat here about some of the pricing on the super rare stuff, and what about that has been sticking out to you?
Okay, so are you on? Have you got Sorare linked up right now?
Yeah, I can pull it up here.
I don't know if you've been following much. So basically, on my last video that I done, I said that I was going to look into getting into super rare. I was going to look at the avenues and how much it would cost and how competitive I could be. So in doing so, I had a look on the new auctions and was right, I'll throw some bids on and see if I land any. Now, just search for, okay, granted, right, bear in mind now there's 12 left. They haven't put any new ones on since this stuff that's happened. So go and search for, first one will be Nick Claxon. Just type it up for his super rare. You'll find, I don't know if there's any on the auction, so it might not see it. So you might have to go to manager sales. And then you can see the last few. So the last ones that I've been watching in terms of super rare pricing. Now, bear in mind, this is the upper echelons. Apart from uniques, this is the top ones. Click on his last recent sales, like if you see on the card, and then you can scroll down. So if you click on him, scroll down. So the drop off on the auctions has been mad for some of these cards. That card only went for $379 because I was bidding on it and then cut myself off. Right? Wow. That card would have probably gone for like $180 to $200. Now go look at Kevon Looney, who's the next guy I was bidding on.
All right, like, Kevon Looney.
There's three guys I'm going to mention here. Kevon Looney was the next one. And I was like, yeah, I'll take a look. I'll throw a bid on him. Obviously, big game set or whatever game it was in the playoffs last year. He went for $125. I put £100 max bid on him, fell asleep, and it went for like 101. Like literally, someone picked me by like £1. Right? Wow. The drop off on that is nuts. And then go and look at Kevin Durant. Now, I didn't even look at the Kevin Durant because I was like, it's so outside my price point. I'm not even going to bother. And then I saw YNWA's tweet on this. And now I love, like, YNWA is such a good creator in terms of the Twitter side of things and everything that he's done. But he does only mention the negative stuff. But when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, right. We're in a little bit of a shit situation here now because the drop off on there is mental. And I know Kevin Durant is like 35 or whatever it is. But this speaks more to where we're looking at in terms of people jumping into super rares right now. There isn't a market for it. If I can feasibly go and compete on getting a super rare Kevin Durant, then there is a little bit of an issue in terms of it's not attractive enough for someone to go and buy super rare cards to go and play in them. And that is a big issue because ultimately that will have a trickle-on effect.
Wow.
Do you see what I mean? And it's like I don't want to be like so. It feels like this whole bloody session so far has been like absolutely trashing on it. But at the same time, I kind of have to speak on it because that's bad. This is bad, and I mean, I think it doesn't help with how many auctions were done. But at the same point, there's limited appetite on people to get into super rares right now. Is what it looks like.
Wow, 664. That is really surprising. I didn't think that's what it's going to look like. And I mean, listen, I don't know if super rare, the super rare people are considered whales. Do you put them in the whale category, or is that just uniques that you put in the?
I think if it depends on the guy. If you've got 5, like if I bought 5 super rares for like $1,000, I'm not going to be like, I'm a whale on super rare now. Like I'm not going to do that. But it's where the whales will play. You're going to play in the super rare market. You're going to play in the unique competitions. So
and that was going to be my point, right? Is that if they are seeing this, they are the lifeblood of the like that. So Rare is not printing money off of our, $3.50 DeAndre Ayton limited buys, and then not that they don't appreciate it, but like that is like the lifeblood of the market there. And if you are running into that's going to be a little sneaky. You know what I'm going to try to do? We're going to try to move my camera to the left. There we go. Here we go. We'll try a little bit of this. We'll get a little outside.
But ultimately that's it. And again, I think it's because, and the only way I can see this, and maybe someone that's got a far more in-depth knowledge on macro and micro economic situations within an NFT blockchain game. But if I look at Super right now, and this is what I was saying to myself, at Super Contender, you only get paid for 13th. That's the cutoff. And I'm like, I would need to buy 5 cards that could fit in the cap space, probably for 2 to 3 weeks at a max. And then I'd need to buy more probably to be able to put a team together. And then even then, I would need to come top 13. And I'm like, that is so impossibly hard. And even then, you're winning a tier 5 card, which at its current rates, they're all falling because people aren't playing them or buying the cards. So it's like, it's so counterproductive in terms of how they both go with each other. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think the amount of auctions that they've minted didn't help. And they did this last year in terms of they kind of flooded the market. Then they held back and you saw it naturally go up. And that was a good thing. It sort of healed itself. In this situation, because it's so hard, I'm not sure it does. That's my current concern.
Well, I think it's going to take wins that are stacked up on each other from the team before before that's toast. You know what? Like, because I don't think it's going to be like one thing that all of a sudden gets people to buy, because you are going, like, you see that. I mean, that is a pretty steep drop to go from the auctions, right? Like 2.3 ETH. Even if you don't look at the dollars, you just look at ETH, like, right? 2.3, 1.5, 2.0, 1.2, and then 0.2. And like in a month later, it goes down almost a full ETH. I think that is a scary number.
And to go on the other side, because I'll always play both here. There are points, and when I was looking at some of the super rares to invest in, there are points in the game where people have got super rares at auction for way lower than the rest. Like this happened last year as well.
Yeah, with like Dame.
I don't know if
Dame was one.
Yeah, there was the one, like, even looking at Kevon Looney's last year, there was one that went for like £192, and then they jumped back up to like 400. But I don't know. It just feels a little bit different this time. And again, maybe it's because we're too close to it and it's recency bias, but it does feel a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I sold off a lot of my rares for like a couple of reasons. One, because I was traveling.
I've still been buying.
Yeah, what'd you say?
I've still been buying.
I know.
But this is what I'm saying all this, and I'm still buying them. So
no, that's good. The people need to know that. But I was at this point where I was frustrated from like some personal stuff and was like, I had a big trip coming up and I thought we had secured tickets and then had to get some. So I was like, what better way to use NBA NFTs, to use the blockchain, the future of fandom, to allow me to go to the in-season tournament. So that was part of it. But really, the real thought process was, I can't compete with the gallery I have in Rare as Rare is currently constructed. So why don't, instead of doing that and having to shoot the moon to win a rare contender reward, maybe I put some of that money into like a real good limited gallery and then try to win limited champion, because that feels a little bit more attainable to like compete in a real way in limited champions versus what I was doing. Because I mean, I had Anthony Davis's rare and he's scoring 100 points in a game week. And I'm still like, not even, they're like, 46 points away from the closest reward. And I'm like, okay, if you don't have one of those studs, not only do you need like the Jokic, the Embiid, the Giannis of the world, you also need like everybody else. so go ahead.
The issues with that is, I agree. Like, I bolstered my limited collection this year as well, but that was just because I wanted to get some of the main MVPs in my gallery. Like that was all it was. And the issue that we've got is that if you have that process, there's probably a lot of people that were nearing the limited and rare side that have also had that thought process. If you sell off rare to then move into limited, it is a trickle effect.
Yeah.
And as you'll see in limited as well, the prices haven't boomed because people are moving into limited. They're only going to fall because more and more people are selling off the higher scarcity cards to move into it. And that's the issue that then we have. Like some of the, like I think like my Luka, like you can pick up a limited Luka Doncic right now for like $150 or something like that. And then it gets to a point of that, if I go out and buy these cards to win in limited and the Luka is only worth $150, why would you, like, why? This is the issue of getting new people on at the moment, is it's like a double negative at the moment. And I would say to anyone that loves basketball to play Sorare NBA, because it is the fundamental best platform for fantasy sports on basketball, I think.
Right.
Like, in terms, not including like gambling sites and anything like that. Fantasy sports, this is by far and away the best that there is out there.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit of a hard sell for me right now, where I'm looking at it this close.
No, I wouldn't recommend anybody to dive into, like, at least I wouldn't recommend anybody with a lot of money to dive in right now. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, you need to dive into super rare. Even though like the prices might be good, I wouldn't do that, because I just don't, again, probably like a lot of people are feeling, I would like to see them stack a couple of W's first. I mean, like even with the, and I know this kind of takes us in a different direction, but with the announcement of the limited under 23 rewards, right? And like that's, I wasn't really locked in because I was in Vegas. I wasn't really paying attention, and there, everybody was like, LOL, they still haven't announced rewards yet. And I was like, yeah, they'll announce it. It'll be fine. It'll come out and it'll be fine. And it's like, hey, that rare problem we had for rare contender? What if we just did that, but on steroids for limited under 23? And yeah. I get there in that conundrum of like, hey, we took the supply from, we like 10x, or what's the opposite of 10x? We like cut 10x of it. I understand that puts you in a predicament. I just would think that shouldn't be a surprise. right? That they shouldn't be learning that in real time. And so that you would like to think that they were like, oh, we should game plan for what this looks like. And I don't think they did.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. I mean, the limited under 23 rewards, I wasn't mad at all. I thought limited was fine. Rare was a completely different
Rare.
Top 15 was nuts. Top 50, I'm fine with that because the prize is a $20 gift card if you come 50th of that 1 week you own these cards is not a bad reward.
No.
The issue that and I think if you're talking about the scarcity stuff, yes, there's probably a little bit more thought that should have gone into how hard it potentially could be. But ultimately, this is just matching the scarcity that there is on the football side. There was a hyper amount of cards that was already there, and this is just bringing it back to what the current market and the current game on the football was already seeing. And I know that there's infinitely more players on the football side because of all of the leagues, the rosters are bigger, and everything like that. But it still matches up somewhat. And I mean, I've been thinking of ways, and I know that, and I say I know, I don't know it in X extent of what was happening with Top Shot and the burning of moments and how that all went down, how it was perceived, how communities liked it. But I don't know if there's going to be a way in which some of this supply can be kind of cut from the secondary market, and then also that you can look to sort of show something as a collection on the NBA side. Like if you have a collection, you lock it in so you cannot sell it, and you get this. You get like some special Sorare card, or you get some or you get some NBA memorabilia of that team or something that just to safeguard the market from being oversupplied with cards or something like that. There's loads of ideas that are like half baked in my head that I haven't been able to put into a video, but this is just where I'm like thinking of it right now.
It's funny. I don't even know if there's oversupply in the market. There's just, or maybe this is the definition of oversupply. There's just no buyers right now. I think everybody that's here has like scooped up the cards that they needed. And then there was an initial boost because they were like, hey, that IST tournament that's supposed to be sick, you need new cards this year. And then that happened. And I think everybody between participating in that, spending money on that, they were just like, all right, I think my gallery's good. I'm just going to rock with this. And there's been I don't think any sort of, I don't know. I am someone who notoriously bought stuff before every single like game week. And I haven't been doing that. And I am the target demo. Like it is me. I am the one with the problem. And if I've been able to just kind of been like, I think I'm just going to rock with what I have. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think so. Based on, I don't know, even based on me trying to sell my rare cards. Like I don't think there's, I was selling AD during the IST tournament when like there was only 4 teams playing.
Yeah, I think the rare market, and I don't want to bash rares too much, primarily because I'm still in them, but the rare market is in a tight spot. And but again, it's because like I have money sitting in Sorare, and I can go out and buy another MVP on the Sorare stuff on the rare side. But it's just so hard on champion. I prioritize contender, and I've got like 4 MVPs because it's too tough for me to be like, yes, I'm going to throw all my eggs in the champion basket this week. I'll look, if I have like a Caleb Martin who's got like the solid L10 base, I'm throwing him in contender because I've cashed in contender 4 times this year.
Yeah.
And like that's a boast because I've hit 4 rewards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's where we currently are for it. But I hate saying all this because I love this game, but yeah.
No, I think it's okay. I also think if you're not saying it, and it's a little disingenuous too. So I think it's important because then people are like, dude, you're a shell. You're a shell, bro. You're on the payroll. But anyways, let's hit a couple. Look at us. Like the last couple of times we've done shows, we like rifled through everything in 40 minutes, and today we've hit like 2 of the talking points so far. Yeah. There was one other thing. I know we already kind of mentioned that it's been like 2 weeks, just about since the last product update. I believe you said, is it the So Rare side of his head 9 updates? Is that right?
Yeah. So as far as I could tell, and these are like half-baked updates and like little things here and there, and then also some big ones. But there's been like 9 football ones since the last announcement of an NBA update that we still haven't got. And I'm just, it's at that point where I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like the NBA has this like golden child of football. It's totally fine. It's the bigger product. There are more things that they can do with it. But the NBA is in its full, like we've just come out of the IST. We're now approaching the festive holidays. Then we have All-Star, and then the playoffs come around before you know it. And it feels like there is nothing. I don't know. It just feels like a void space, and that they don't care. Like that's how it feels. Like looking at it.
Yeah, and like we know it's not true because like
no, I know it's not. I know it's not true because they're doing
yeah.
everything with Rivals and they love it. But
yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I think my concern with Rivals is that just because, again, and this has nothing to do with So Rare, this has to do with just like previous experience with other products and just life. When when the sentiment is like, baby, just wait till Rivals. When Rivals comes out, right? Then it sets this expectation that this is like not the last hope, but like the big thing. This is the big shiny thing that's going to set it off. And if it doesn't, or if it's just fine, then everybody's like, this was it. This was your rabbit out of a hat magic trick that was going to, you know? So I always get nervous when it's just like, oh God, can't wait. So I don't know. There's going to be, I don't know. Well, hopefully we just see Rivals and it's great. And then everybody buys cards. There was one, I thought, was there one other thing we wanted to hit, or was that was most of it, right? I think I combined the last two.
Yeah, I think that's most of it in terms of stuff, of main bullet points that we wanted to run through.
Yeah. So I see Nicholas in the chat too saying some guy offered me 13 decent rares worth 440, including PG, De'Aaron Fox, and Bam for Luka a month ago. I knew something was wrong with rares when I got this. So when I looked at the sales, man, these are not selling. Yeah, I do think like if you are trying to trade within the marketplace, that is something you can do. I do think you can get like fair value on trades. But if you're trying to sell right now, whoo, baby, get ready for the bartering that's going to happen. Because if you're buying, you know that you're one of the few. So you can just be like, no, hey, I know you're selling this for like 250. I'll do it for you, George. 250 quid. You can be like, well, how about 100? How about 100? Gilbert was asking a question here. I don't know if you've messed around with this at all. This is just like a one-on-one type thing, right?
Yeah.
Rival.
So from my understanding on the football side, and I haven't played it. I know it's out there now, and you still need an invitation. I do believe, as it's still in beta. Like they haven't polished the football version yet. The idea of it is that you have like a daily mode that you play head to head. So whatever games are on, they don't have to be covered from So Rare. So like one of the examples was like China played Taiwan in football, and that isn't a league. They don't cover those games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could pick a lineup and you will play against your friend for it. Now, when there are games that you can, whether it be the Premier League or La Liga or whatever, you can then use some of the cards that you own yourself for boosts. You play against your friends, you win these games, and then you get the So Rare coins. And that's how there's the thing from it. They don't have cards in that market. It's not paid to win. It's completely free to play in that aspect. But you get the coins. And then from the coins in the club shops that they have raffles for jerseys now, which they've changed the system, which should automatically apply to when the NBA drops, whenever the club shop comes out. Or you can use it for your training lineups or for merch that they've got coming down the line, or for tickets or whatever. So that's going to be the thing. And I think that's probably why we're still waiting on the club shop, because I think that they've probably gone to a point now where they don't want to do another update of saying, hey, it's coming. They want to wait for Rivals to be finished and then also launch the club shop at the exact same time. So it's like this massive update. And that's why I think we haven't heard anything maybe for 2 weeks. So that's maybe it. But it's like, I shouldn't be guessing this. Like,
yeah. I know. And like, not only that, too, that's also giving them a ton of credit. Right?
The thing is, I know, like, people will be like, they're sitting on their, like, arse doing nothing. They're blatantly not doing this, right? They're working very hard on the Rivals thing. But it's just, we don't know. Like, we can't see. And I don't want to see that. I just be like, again, we don't know how long it's going to be. And it's another, I don't think people could take another update of is coming. I just don't think that can happen.
Or I can't, definitely not another update like that is skewed as a positive thing, which I know they're not going to ever give an update that's negative, but like, don't lie to me, bro. Like, because I'm with you. I think like they just need, and I'm not even someone that's excited about the team collection bonus thing, but that needs to come out. Like the stuff just needs to come out. Like I'm sure there's a reason it's being. Oh, go ahead.
the collection bonus will help on the secondary market 1,000,000%. Because
Yeah.
once you see that last season's cards, if you had 7 of the Knicks and you go and buy 4 or 5 more, your cards will get a 3% XP boost. And that would have made you go from like 100th to 70th. Then
Right.
people are going to go and do it. It will help. It's done that on the football side indefinitely. It will help. But it's not, that isn't going to be like, it's here, everything's fine. It's not going to, it's just another thing that needs to be there.
Yeah. Also, it's Hershey reminding us about the off-season
Yeah.
XP. A+.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't even my biggest issue last year. And of all of the playoffs things that annoyed me, and I didn't mind the format, the thing that annoyed me the most was if you bought a card by a certain point, you then had 25% XP on it.
Yeah.
And it was just like, well, you've killed the secondary market moving into it, because then people are just not going to buy these cards because then they can't compete. So you had like a cutoff point of like, pick the players you think are going to do well in the playoffs, buy them by this point, or wait until next year. And that was
exactly. I will say, like, here, we can give them some positive stuff. And I really just have one sticking. I thought
there's a lot of positive. We need some positive stuff now.
Yeah, the IST thing I thought was an absolute home run. I thought the prize pool was great. I would have said buy 2 year 2 cards instead of buy 3, but of course they would say buy 3 because that's better for their sales, and I get it. I just, as the consumer, that's what I would say. But like, I loved the format. I loved how it like provided this other like game theory, not only for those playing in the IST, but even those playing like champion contender. Like, it impacted everything. It impacted the whole ecosystem. Yeah. I thought that was excellent. I thought the IST was a home run.
I loved the long format competitions are so good, like so good, because they keep you engaged on it like not every game, but every game week. You're going to go and have a look at your lineup. And that's how you'll then change it and move around. And maybe that's what they have to do with one of these. Like, I don't know how much wiggle room they've got. Maybe they're at their capacity here, because if that rare reward update was all they've got, then something does need to change on the evergreens, because it's just not It's not comparable. Anyway, the positive stuff, yes. IST, I loved that. I kind of love what they've done with Limited Champion this year. It goes under the radar. Like, you can now win the best limited card in a limited tournament for it. Like, that wasn't there last year. So there are stuff that they've done right. I also, and ultimately, I do love the fact that they did reduce the mint scarcities, because it did get to a point last year where there was like way more of a certain tier 5 card that was just like, you didn't want it. Like, it was like 60p and things like that. I think it's, and like some of the other, and all of the updates that they've mentioned that are coming, I really like. Like, the club shop will be great when we start to earn coins, and maybe that will also help on the rare side. But we just don't see it at the moment. That's it. It feels like I feel like I've bashed it for ages, but I love the game.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating is that it's like you said at the top of this. I think the frustrating part is the execution. It is December 13th. Every blog or podcast that I listen to have done like their quarter poll awards of like MVPs, of like power rankings, all that stuff. And like that's a real thing. I mean, I know we still have 75% of the season left, but 25% of it is gone. And so now if you were unleashing stuff halfway through the year, I'm like, I don't know, man. I would just be capitalizing on this stuff early and often. But
I'm excited to see, and I think this is something that they probably would benefit and would be quite smart to talk about in the next, when they announce the updates that they have and whenever they come live. When they talk about them, I think they should almost reassure the community as well that they are looking at, like, the playoffs is sorted, like they have big things coming, because the playoffs is going to be a huge deal, because they can't flunk the playoffs again, because the community feedback on the playoffs was ultimately quite poor. Like, it was low. The whole, I didn't mind the scoring system for it. I didn't mind how they sort of split it out between the rounds and the game week schedules for it. But the pricing on that was bad, ultimately. So they need to make sure that they hit the nail on the head with playoffs coming up soon. And like, maybe as like silly as it seems, when I was looking through Nico's like the number one guy at Sorare, I was looking through some of his like Twitter stuff, and the top of his pinned tweet was from the start of November of like what's going on. And he was like running through everything. It was amazing to see, right? In terms of how they're going to plan out and change everything. And he was talking about how he was going back to like be involved more on the gameplay side of things. And then it's just like, was that just football, or is that NBA and MLB as well? Like, it does seem that there is a bit of a a divide between the two. But
I think, I mean, that is how I'm interpreting everything that's happening right now. And I feel for the Sorare NBA staff, because I bet they feel that way too. Like, I'm sure they feel like, man, if we just had the resources and the support that yeah, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I'm sure they feel similarly. I'll just leave it.
I love the fact that now the Sorare employees can play Sorare, because now I'm sure as well. In fact, I would bet my life on it that the Sorare employees that are now playing Sorare can emphasize with some of the points that people will see at how like the people in the community will moan about. They'll now see that, okay, this is a pain point. Like, we can see that this is an issue. It isn't just people whining on like Twitter or on the Discord. There are fundamental things that are wrong. But also, this is really cool. This is really dope, and we've done all this stuff. So it's just, I mean, like, we haven't even seen league passes up for grabs this year. Like, we saw that last year. I love the Banchero jersey in basketball, but we saw like 20, like if you come like in the top 20, I think at points, you got league passes. And like, they were given to like super rares and stuff. But people who don't need league passes because they've got the money to drop $2,000 on a Patrick Beverley. Like, this is the thing. Like, so I don't know. But
no, I agree. I mean, to me, those are just easy wins, those are easy wins. But
easy wins. I was just looking through some of the comments there, because I know we've been going for a while, but I feel like we haven't hit a comment in a while. But
anything good in there? Trevor's point here, just saying with the new Lister play, I feel like we won't know how much people buy for the game week until the previous game week closes. I
think it'll be a thing that becomes more beneficial as time goes on as well, because people won't just have everything listed for sale all at once and then see people undercutting them. But then it goes back to the ultimate sort of point of that: why would I go and buy them? Because it's still so hard, and so on and so forth. Like, there isn't a collection for me to buy them to boost the cards that I'm currently playing. There isn't Sorare coins for me to make sure I'm hitting a certain threshold in each competition. Like, that's my point.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Bottom line too, saying as a European guy with very limited access to official NBA coverage, I'm a total sucker for free league passes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, did you see how much the tickets come out? The tickets dropped today for America v Germany and America v South Sudan that were coming over here.
No, so how much are they?
They're doing 2 games. It's like a warm up before the Olympics. And everyone on the timeline yesterday was like, "Yeah, it's so gas. We've got 2 NBA. We've got 2 like games of the dream team are coming." And it was like the cheapest ticket was like $200, and you're like the very cheapest against South Sudan, and you're like, right, okay. And then like the best tweet that I saw in all of it was like, "I'm a Nets fan. It's cheaper for me to buy return flights to Brooklyn, buy a seat in the Nets stadium and a hotel than it is to buy 1 ticket at a stadium that is 15 minutes from me." And you're like, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. And it's also a shot at the Brooklyn Nets, which I love because they're tickets are very cheap. Oh, that's great. That's great. All right, let's wrap it here. That felt good to get that out. I feel healthier. I feel better. And I feel hopeful.
And I'll be there Friday doing my lineups. So
that's all right. There's not a question. We'll absolutely be doing that. George, I know Swingman Pod is tagged in the show notes, so go check them out. Anything coming up this week?
No, I think the only thing would be if you've got it, if you have it there, would be to drop the link for the NBA ticket giveaway. I did a video with Sorare community manager John a couple of weeks back now. He answered some of the questions that were coming for season 2 as well. Some of the questions that people had sent in to me, and as a result of that, we had a little competition on our Sorare lineups, and that was the cool thing of one of the new things that are good that they can do is to play Sorare with us. We had a competition, and then he ended up putting up some NBA tickets on the line courtesy of Sorare. So to get involved in that, retweet the tweet that is in the comment section.
Yeah, just drop that in the chat right now. So check that out. For Sorare stuff, we'll have a value hunting episode drop tomorrow for the upcoming game week. That should be up by like noon tomorrow. And then Live Before Lock will be back here at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Otherwise, just check out all the other content that we're doing. But George, thanks for doing this today, man.
Yeah, no worries, man. Always fun. It's good. Again, it all comes from a good place. It's all like it's constructive criticisms, I think, is where we'd label it.
There we go. And we even said some nice stuff at the end. See, comes from a place of love. From a place of love. All right, for George, myself, we're out. We'll see you next time.